All right, welcome to the lab number one report guide instruction video. By now you have entered the data from the lab number one observations online, and you can start preparing your lab report. So your lab report will be completed individually. That is, you yourself will do the lab report start to finish on your own. This is not a group assignment. The lab report is basically a mini version of the final senior thesis that you will turn in. It will have all of the pieces of a research paper. It will have a title page, an introduction, a method section, results, and discussion. But it will be in mini form and you will do it on your own. Okay. I expect it to be about 6 or so pages of text, but what's more important is the content as opposed to the length. Someone who writes a 5-page paper that's amazing is going to get a better grade than someone who writes a 6-page paper that's utter BS. So just make sure that you are following the directions in the guide as you are going through and preparing your paper, and don't worry too much about the length on it. So you need to have a title page, and you also will need to go in and find 4 additional articles that relate to the study. So similar to what you did for the draft introduction assignment, you will need to find 4 additional source articles to round out your introduction. And again, remember, the purpose of the introduction is to introduce the reader to the topic and give them all of the information that they need to know so that they can understand the research study that you will describe in the methods and results section. So you're going to find 4 articles, write summaries on them, including the Rubek and Zhuang studies, and then you're going to want to put these together so they read start to finish, and you want to end the introduction with the predictions that we're going to make, what we think is going to happen in our study, right? You want to make sure you describe the specific pattern you expect to see. Then you have a method section. The method section is going to be briefly describe your participants and your materials and procedures. The way to think about the method section is to think about it like a recipe. A recipe has a list of ingredients, things you need to have in order to do the study. On some level, the method section participants and materials are these ingredients. Who are the people that are in your study? What did you need to complete the study? You needed a stopwatch, you needed an observation sheet, you needed to go to parking lots, these kinds of things. Just as a recipe has explicit instructions on how to make the thing in the recipe, your method section and the procedures should have explicit instructions on how exactly you collected the data. Ideally, your method section should be descriptive enough that I could take your method section and I could hand it to another person in another section of this class, and just on reading what you wrote, they should be able to go out and collect the data in a similar manner to how you collected your data. Just like a recipe, if you hand a cookie recipe to someone else and they have a basic understanding, they should be able to read the recipe and produce those cookies, right? So the method section functions the same way. The results, we are going to look at the analyses that I posted on Moodle, and you are going to write up the results section. We're going to write up the results of 2 independent samples t-tests. And you can look at the results video for more information on that. The discussion section, you'll summarize the hypotheses, describe how our results replicated or did not replicate the target article, and think about what do our results mean in the big picture. Do we support this idea that people defend territory if it has no value? If not, why? If we did, why? What are some other things that you have to think about? Additional questions that you might ask. If you don't think it's territorial defensive space that's driving this effect, like what do you think it is? Why do you think people do this? The discussion is a place where you can speculate on your results. And then finally, the references section, you will need to include a reference for your target article and the 4 articles that you find. You will also need to make sure you have in-text citations for your references. So when you talk about other research up here in the introduction, you want to include that in-text citation. So that's it for the lab report guide. This will be due on the date indicated on the syllabus. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I will do my best to answer them.